Hello. In this video, we are going to take a existing Spring Boot project and we're going to add cucumber or cucumber to it, depending on however you want to pronounce it. And that's what we're going to do. I have a example project set up that you can go to the downloady section, the description, and download it so you can follow along with this video. We're going to be using Java 11, Spring Boot 2.3.2, and some other stuff. Yes, so let's get started. First thing I wanted to talk about is just the dependencies specific to Cucumber that we're going to use, and actually specific to the testing. So I've got a few of them copy and pasted because I'm not going to type them out because that'd be terribly boring, but we'll talk through them one by one. First one is Cucumber Spring. This is going to be useful for using some of the annotations that it provides, like Cucumber context configuration. Try saying that with a mouthful. And that will be useful in actually getting the context configuration of Cucumber set up. You'll see what that is when we get to it. We're also going to want to add Cucumber Java. Note I'm using version 6 in all of these. If you want to follow along, we also are going to need JUnit. JUnit's just a basic unit testing stuff that we can use to make assertions about things. And the other thing, the one that's slightly more interesting, not specific to Cucumber, but it is something that we can use because we want to have a database, in a MongoDB database, that is embedded in the sense of it works for our tests. So what we can do is we can use this thing called test containers using the MongoDB version of this. And what this will do is when we run our actual Cucumber test, it's going to spin up an extra cheeky Docker container every time we run them. So and what this is going to allow us to do is to actually connect to a new real MongoDB instance, which is far more like the real world, and this is quite useful to actually test with. So this is something quite nice that you might not know about, but there we go. So that's your dependencies sorted. Let's have a goosey gander at the actual demo project, so just so you know what we're going to be sort of testing and what have you. So dead simple, this is a memes application. That's all we care about, memes. We have got 2 endpoints. So this is a meme controller. All we've got here is one where users can request all of the memes, and they're going to get a string, i.e. a JSON string. And they've got another endpoint where they can add a new meme. This has a service, so the controller delegates to a service. The service will then delegate to a repository. The repository is simply that. How beautiful is that? It's just an interface that implements Mongo repository, and so we get a whole load of methods that come for free, gratis, with that, thanks to Spring Boot being nice. We also have the idea of a meme, and this is just a model class. I'm using Lombok here. A couple of things to note. In order to actually use Cucumber with your model classes, your actual objects, you're going to want to make sure you have a no-else constructor. Now I'm using this wonderful thing called Lombok here to generate a no-else constructor, but that's something you have to be aware of. A few things to note. So I have deliberately added something, an ID. It's a non-null ID. This is going to be generated by Mongo itself, and we're going to test that. So we can also create memes without creating the ID. Even though it's non-null, we can actually create one without having the ID. And it's because you couldn't, say, create a meme and give it a null ID, but you can omit passing it an ID. It's a bit of a strange one. But that's what you can do. I've got 2 constructors. The primary purpose of this second constructor here is purely to show you that a different way of actually passing data when we get to Cucumber. We also generate a new timestamp on each of the constructors, and we have this annoying thing here, which is just a JSON format pattern, because I can't be bothered to go through doing all of the Jackson deserialization. This will just work. You may have a better way of doing this. You probably do. But here we go. That is all we need there. And then we also have a small config file that configures our Mongo. So we're just connecting to the normal port, 27017, and we are injecting a value for the MongoDB database name. That's important for our tests, because in our test application properties, we are going to define something that is opposite to this. So, you know, we're constructing this here, and we're going to have a Mongo configuration class in our tests, which is going to be basically the same thing as this, except for it's going to be a test configuration, and we'll have a slightly different database name so that we're actually testing in a separate database, guaranteed. Right, oh my god, I've been waffling for so long. Let's actually start doing some stuff. So the very first thing we should probably do is set up that test configuration file that I just mentioned. If we go to our test area here, the test folder, we are going to create a new package, call it config. And while we're here, let's just copy all of this. We'll copy all of this. And we will create a new Java class, and we're going to call it test Mongo configuration. You can call it what you like. Add that to Git, and we are going to add 2 annotations here. One of them is going to be test configuration. The other one is going to be test property source, so that we can actually get our test properties in here. And this is going to pick this up when we're running actual tests. So what we now want to do is just copy and paste our configuration. And then we want this value, which currently doesn't exist, to be in our test application properties, which is in the resource folder. So go over here, and we want to create something called mongo.database, and then equals, and then call it whatever the hell you like. So I'm going to say test-memes. That's what our database name is going to be called. Great, that's all we need to do for the configuration. Well, actually, the Mongo configuration. Now let's get on with the Cucumber stuff. So we're going to create a new package again. We're going to call it cucumber, however you want to pronounce it. Why won't that work? Let's try that again. Come on, second time's the charm. Yeah, cucumber. There we go. Okay, we've created that package. Inside this package, we're going to want to create at least 2 classes, I think. One of them is going to be called Cucumber IT for integration tests, or you can call it Cucumber test. You can call it whatever the hell you like. This is going to be the entry point of our Cucumber test. One entry point. You could have many if you like, but we're going to settle with one. And I'll sort of talk about how you could do many as well if you wanted to do that. But for our purposes, we're doing integration tests, and we are going to have a single entry point. So first thing, we want to run this with cucumber.class. Okay, that should import correctly. I have a feeling that my Maven is not playing ball, so I will just pause and get that fixed. Oh, and would you Adam and Steve it? It turns out that I have already made an egregious error, as usual. We forgot to import this dependency here. Well, I did. I say we to share the blame. I'm blaming you too. Not the band. Right. Well, actually, I'm going to blame the band. Here we go. Right. So we should have imported cucumber-junit as well. So that's my fault. Hold my hands up. I shot the sheriff. I didn't shoot the deputy. But here we go. Right. So now we should be able to import cucumber.class. Then we can start doing some other stuff. Okay, we want to be looking for Cucumber context configuration. That's going to allow Spring to sort of say, oh, hang on, this is the Cucumber class, yeah. Then we want to do Spring Boot test, and there's a few things we want to add here. We want to add classes, and we want to add our main application class. So in my case, I've creatively called this application.class. And we want to add, I don't know why I did the rude sandstorm then. We want to do cucumber it.class, and I swear we want to do something else. Ah, yes, there is another thing we want to do actually, thinking about it. One other thing we want to probably do is set the web environment to have a random port. Ooh. Random port, ideally then we don't really clash with stuff, right? We don't clash with ports that could be running on our computer or on whatever machine is running this stuff. Okay, I've made another error. I suspect I haven't actually closed something off. Why is it moaning? Annotations are not allowed here. Yes, they are. They most definitely are. Why is it moaning? Ugh, how can we already have gone wrong? Oh, I'll tell you what it is. No. Why is it saying annotations are not allowed here? They definitely are. Ah, why have I put that? Aha! Right, the cheeky semicolon got me out. Right, then we also want to say cucumber options. There are a few things we want to add here. Some of them we're not actually going to do anything with. A typical thing to add, a useful thing anyway, is the pretty plugin. So this is going to be pretty. That makes things nice and pretty. Also, you might want to add tags. Now, I'm not actually going to use the tags, but I'll probably show you at some point what they're going to look like. We also need to specify where our feature files are going to go. Now, Shane, what is a feature file? Very good question. A feature file is basically how we're going to define the Cucumber actual test, as in the bit that we would show to someone and say, here's the test, and they could read it and it looks like English. That's what a feature file is. You'll see more of it later, but we're going to be putting it in source, test, resources, resources, and then features. That's where they're going to go. It's going to be nice. Now, back to the tags. Let's say you wanted to, have a tag memes. What this would allow you to do, right, is you could annotate your feature file, the particular thing you're currently testing, the scenario, with memes, and guess what would happen? It would only run that one. Because the Cucumber tests run differently, we have the single entry point. We might want to have tags when we're trying to debug through tests, or you might want to categorize things by tags. However, whatever floats your boat, that's just a thing that we can use. And I'll show you what we're actually going to do with them as we go on and proceed to the next episode. I don't know why I was quoting Dr. Dre there. Anyway, we now need to create something called Cucumber configuration. You can call it whatever you like. I'm going to stick it in the Cucumber file as well, folder as well. This is just going to be, and basically we just want to have something to map objects, right? So we're going to have something called a data table, okay? And that data table is going to have a whole series of strings. You know what? Let's not do the configuration now. Let's actually go ahead and write a feature. Let's just write a basic feature, and then you'll know what I'm on about, and then I won't have to be trying to explain things in the abstract. We can just see it. So we're going to go to the resources folder. We're going to create a feature. The feature is going to be called, if it'll let me type. It's not going to let me type, so we're going to try again. We're going to type in meme.feature. You're going to see that IntelliJ is going to notice and put a little cucumber icon there. It's going to be like, this is a cucumber file, son. Right, first thing to do, name it. This is going to be a feature. Meme feature. You can call it whatever you like. But notice, IntelliJ gives us the option to now run this. That's a new feature. That wasn't there this morning. Literally, that is a new thing they've introduced. But you could do a scenario. So a scenario is basically the actual thing you're going to test. So it might be something like a user gets the memes. So that's the scenario. And then we're going to do all the steps that are required to do that test. And then you could have another scenario that does another bit of test, and so on and so forth. And that would constitute the whole feature, right? So the meme feature. And what we're talking about with tags here, let's say we had a tag called Shane. Well, if we tagged this scenario, this would be the only thing that ran. Although I don't know how necessary these are in terms of debugging, because like I say, IntelliJ has literally just added this new feature today. Well, I've downloaded the new version today, so that's probably why. So, scenario, a user gets the memes. Then we have these things, the steps, right? And we're going to be using this thing called Gherkin. Gherkin is a syntax that allows us to define the steps. So we have given steps, when steps, then steps, and steps. Wow, that sounded funny. So, given. So we want to. This is where we state what are the sort of assumptions of the test, what happens before the test, or what has to be, what are the prerequisites, what are the things that are given for this test to start happening. So we could say given the following memes. The following memes. Notice how it's highlighting it right now because it's like I have no idea what this step is. We're going to define this step in a step file called that's going to use regex. Okay, given. Now we're going to define this weird thing called a data table. So this is what I was on about. So it's going to take a meme and it's going to take something called dankness. Now you remember back to our model. Let's have a cheeky little look again. Our model, we have got this. And we've got a no-args constructor. So what I can do is any of these properties here, because we have a no-args constructor, right? The way that this is going to work is that Cucumber is going to use a no-args constructor and then sort of fill everything in. Right, it's going to fill all the things in. I think it does it using reflection, but don't hold me to that because I might be wrong on that particular point. But anyway, it's going to use a no-else constructor and then it's going to add all the stuff. So it's going to take, we've got this thing called a meme. We're going to add that to the meme field. Oh, we've got this thing called dankness. We're going to add that to the dankness field. Now I'm leaving the other two for the simple fact that the timestamp is something that is generated at the constructor level. We're not using the constructors here, so that's going to be null. And the ID is something that's created at the database level. So when we create this actual object now, it's not going to be there. But again, more things to get into later on, just things to be aware of. So the meme is going to be Oh Long Johnson. That's a really old meme. Dankless level is going to be 1. I'm going to make these all line up so it's all nice. It can be a bit fiddly. I think you can get plugins that actually do this for you. The other meme is going to be Classic Angus. And that's got a dankless level of 3. Okay, so now we've got this thing that says, we have all these memes. We've got a data table, and these are the memes that we're going to create. Okay, so we've got that given. What happens next? Well, when something happens, so when, let's say, the user requests all the memes, they don't just want one, they want all of them. So what this is going to mean is that they're going to call the endpoint, right? We're testing the endpoint. Notice how this reads like English. We don't have to specify the endpoint. We can just say when the user requests all the memes, then they get them all, right? They get all of them. So we could either define this again, this data table again, twice, or we could just say they get them all, right? So we could say then, another type of step, all the memes are returned. Okay, and this is just going to, what we're going to do is we're going to have this step file that takes this, saves these into a list that we can be using later on in the steps. But like I say, we could also have another data table that is exactly the same down here, and it would work the same way. But now we've got a feature file. Let's go ahead and create our, what they call glue in Cucumber. So we're going to do glue, not glub, glue. These are where our steps are going to live. Now, you can have many different steps for different features, for example. You can have steps that are also using, all your when steps can be in one file, or your then steps can be in another file. Then you'd have like a shared data class. We're going to keep things simple. We're going to have one. It's going to be the meme step file. So we're going to do meme steps. One file, keeping it simple. Add that to Git. I probably should tell it to just do it anyway. That's really annoying me, that is. Right, so let's look at our steps. And what do we need to do? Well, how do we actually get the linkage, technical term, between this, where it's all highlighting, it's saying I don't know what this means, and this Java file? So we've got to do some translation. How do we do that? Well, luckily we have some extra cheeky annotations. So we've got the given, when, then, and annotations. So what we're going to do is we're going to say given, and then we're going to have a little method. It's going to be called public void given the following memes. Now, the following memes. This is going to come in as a list of memes. Sorry, a list of meme. It's going to be called memes. Okay? So, at the moment, it's giving us a little red squiggly because it's like, I don't know what given is. I don't know what this means. And the reason is we've got to actually provide it with the step. And this is where the regex comes in. So we're going to start off with the little caret, and we're going to say the following memes. And then $sign to end it. So it's exactly this phrase. The following memes. Now, if we go back to our feature file, oh, look at this. It's no longer moaning and highlighting it in yellow because it recognizes it. And if I control click, we're back to the thing. Wow, isn't that impressive? I also should probably import list here. Okay, so we've now got a basic idea of what's going to happen in the steps, right? And we can define the others in a minute. But something interesting is going to happen. So if we just do a system out print line and we do a print memes, right? And I put a cheeky little debug point on here, if it will let me. Well, let me put a debug point on there. Anyway, it doesn't matter because what's going to happen, I'll show you what's going to happen. Let's go to our meme feature. Let's just cut out these for a second and we'll run this. I'll try the new feature from IntelliJ. We'll run this test. I can't believe it allows you to do that now. That's amazing. I'm actually blown away by this, although you'll be in the future and you'll be like, this is the thing we've had forever. Right, notice how this is kicking off. It's kicking off for some various reasons. So we haven't actually got a glue class. It's moaning about that. Okay, so we need context configuration for the glue class. Now, I suspect I've also done another thing wrong here, because this doesn't seem right. This was not the error I was expecting. Anyone who's familiar with my videos will know full well that every time I run something, something goes wrong. But let's actually go ahead and actually get this sorted. So we've got the context configuration. I think the reason that this was moaning is because we didn't do what I said we were going to do, and it was do that configuration file. So let's go to our Cucumber configuration and let's actually just create this up. So Cucumber configuration, I don't think we need this yet. Let's wonder why this is moaning. Please annotate a glue class with some context configuration. We don't need to do that. It's just lying. It's just lying. That's all it's doing. It's just lying. Why are you always lying? Let's figure this one out together. Okay, so that's right. Cucumber context configuration. That's right. We've got the classes. We've got the Cucumber IT. Why is there a space there? I don't think that'll affect it, but that you never know. It might do. Let's run it like this. We'll run it from the Cucumber IT thing. Maybe it's just running it that way. A legal argument, path must exist, source, test, resources, features. Major mistake. I haven't created a feature file. So I think what I just ran was an experimental feature or something of IntelliJ, because that's what I was moaning. So we'll ignore that for now. I'm not that happy about that, but oh well. And I also need to rename this because I've already typed it wrong. But if we try it again, we'll run it. Ooh, it's going to run. Okay, so loading the Spring context, it's working, and it's going to moan about not being able to convert the arguments, right? Because it did not register a data table. This is a data table. Now, what a lot of people do is they register it like a data table and actually define a type, and you can define a type that's called, data table. Cucumber has one of those. I don't get this. I don't know why we need to do that. We don't need to do that. We can instead define this configuration class, right, with an object mapper, an extra cheeky object mapper. Now, what we can do with the object mapper is map objects. Wow. Now, what we need to do for this is we need to do, let's think about this, private final object mapper. So object mapper is a class provided by Jackson, Johnny Cash's favourite dependency. Okay, so we want the Jackson one, not the test containers one. Then we want to create a extra cheeky, I've forgotten the word then, a constructor. Cucumber, constructor. No, why? No, yes, that thing there, the thing I'm looking at right there. Okay, we'll create this. This is going to come back, and we need to do object mapper is equal to new object mapper. I suppose we could actually also auto wire this. Oh well, que sera, sera. We're going to have a new object mapper, and then what we want to do is we want to have this transformation method, right? And it's going to return an object. It's going to transform. So it's going to have an object from. We want to take it to a certain type, like this. So what we can do is we can return from the object mapper. It has a method called convert value. We're going to pass in the from value, and then what we want to do is we want to construct a type. So object mapper construct type from the to type. So basically the object mapper is going to actually figure out what this object really is and return it and make it right, and it's going to be lovely and wonderful, and you'll love it, and you'll be like, wow, this is incredible. So bip, put a little thing there. Do we need to do anything else? Yes, we do actually. we need to be able to say to transform. We need to actually be able to say to Cucumber, by the way, we've created a little transformer for you to use, so you don't have to moan about not being able to convert stuff. So there are 3 things we need to give it. So there are 3 annotations. Default, that one. Default table cell. We want default table other thing, entry. And default, the other one I just showed up, it was something like parameter transformer. That's the one you want. So you want all 3 of those. You're being really greedy with these annotations, but that's all we need to do. So run the whole Cucumber thing again. And what's going to happen? What's going to happen is it's now going to stop moaning. Ooh, and we should see, hopefully, there we go. It's passed. And we also, did I leave the print line in? I don't know if I did. Yeah, oh yeah, I did. It's there. That's printed the line. Cool. Isn't that awesome? Right, that's awesome. So that's all now working. So what we can now do is go ahead and actually make the glue work. Because we've got one step, right? We've printed out the thing and we haven't actually done anything worthwhile. So let's go ahead and actually finish setting up these steps. Before we actually go ahead and do the actual testing, we need to do a when step. So again, we've got an annotation for that. Import it. Now what did I... Oh my god. Come on, import. There we go. Good stuff. Right. We then need to do... what was it? I think it was something like... We'll soon find out if I'm wrong. It is when the user requests all the memes. That's the one, I think. So private void when the user requests all the memes. Make that blank for now. We're not going to do anything. Ah, it seems to have not moaned. We can't find the declaration. I've probably got them wrong somewhere. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, that's why. I had it commented out. So now if we click there, oh, it's still moaning. What the hell? When the user requests all the... I think it can find it. It's just being a bit of a pain for no apparent reason. Then what we want to do is do then. So your then step is where we do our assertions, right? So we're going to do... if I can find the right key, we're going to do then all the memes are returned. Okay? We're going to do public void then all the memes are returned or something like that, right? Okay, we've got our basic structure for this particular test. We're going to do one other test as well after this. What do we need to do then? Well, we need to actually start setting stuff up. So, that's the wrong place to start indenting stuff. We need to do, we need to have a way of saving the memes that we get given here so that we can use them in other steps. Because we're not going to pass things because the Cucumber itself is invoking these, so we can't just like go given, then invoke this one, then invoke this one. Because you might have a different feature file that invokes the given here and then invokes a different when and so on and so forth. Because these steps are now reusable. So what we'll do is we will go, we'll say private list meme, and then we'll say expected. And we'll do, we won't invoke that yet, we'll say private list meme, and we want to do actual memes. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare what we expect, these things that we're going to get pushed into here, with what actually comes out of a database. So we need that. What else do we need? Well, we need something called a test template. A test template is going to allow us to invoke our REST endpoints that you remember. There are other ways of doing this. I like the test REST template. Oh my god, here we go. Test REST template. Auto wire that. Doesn't matter, we're not using constructor auto wiring here. It doesn't really matter. Normally it would, doesn't here. No one cares. We're also going to want to also wire the repository so that we can actually verify things that have gone into the database. So we want to say private meme repository. And we want to auto wire the object mapper as well, because we're going to want to do some object mapping from that JSON that we get back from getting all of the memes into an actual list, so we can actually verify things properly. So we want to do object mapper, and import that. Wunderbar. Okay, so we've got everything we need. The other thing we do actually want to do is have a before method. So a before method, we want to make sure we import the right one, the cucumber.java one, not the JUnit one. If you do import the JUnit one, you're going to look a bit of a tit when nothing works, because I guarantee you it will wind you up for ages if you import the wrong one. So just import the right one, the cucumber.java one. You can also do a before step with Cucumber, as you can see there. Before step is one where it will literally invoke that before method on every one of these. These are called steps, right? Every single one of these. Whereas the before method only executes every time we have a scenario. So that's just a slight difference there. I want to use the one where we have before for the scenario. So private void setup. What do we want to do? Well, every scenario I want to say expected memes is equal to a new array list. I want to make sure that's empty every single time we have a new scenario, so no tests interact with each other. And the same thing for the actual memes, and also I want to go to the meme repository and I want to delete everything from there. So it's a fresh repository on every single scenario. We don't want to just spin up the Docker container again, because that will be a complete waste of everyone's life. That is a point, actually. Do we need to actually set up the container? I think we do, which we can do. We'll check that in a minute. But let's go ahead for now and actually just start writing these steps. So given the following steps, what do we want to do? Well, what I want to do in this one is take expected memes, add all, add the memes to that. Then I want to say to the meme repository, I want to save all of them. Notice how I didn't have to define the save all method, because we've got all of the methods for free from this Mongo repository that we're extending. Wow! And I know I mentioned that earlier, but I thought I'd show you again because it's rather remarkable. So we're saving all those to an actual database, right? Then what we're going to do is in this one, we're going to actually request it, the data that we've just saved, via the endpoint. So we're going to do this. We're going to what we're going to do. We are going to use the let's just think about this. So let's start off and we'll just do what we're going to do. So we're going to do test res template dot get for entity. That's correct. We want to go to the endpoint. The endpoint is API memes all. Something like that, yes. It returns a string.class. And we want to get the body of this. Now, what do we want to do when we get the body? Well, what we actually want to do is we want to convert this. So we can go object mapper, read value, and we'll read this value, and we'll put a comma there, and we'll say that we want to get the meme, basically an array of memes like this. And is there anything else I'm missing? Yes, I'm missing a cheeky bracket there. Something's going completely wrong here. Why is it moaning? Oh yes, we need to add this exception. It doesn't really matter too much about this. Oh well, que sera, sera. You could put a dot comment saying you don't expect that, but for this, we don't really care. The other thing we want to do, and this line's getting really long, but what we want to do is we want to say actual memes, add all, and then do... No, we don't want to do that. What's that doing? We want to do arrays as list, like this, and like that. And let's just make this a little bit easier to read, because this is getting ridiculous. So arrays as list, we'll put that on a new line. We'll put the test res template on a new line. We'll put that on a new line. It's not great, but oh well. This will work. So now what this is going to do is it's going to call our endpoint, and it's going to return all of the memes from this endpoint and put it into the actual memes list. So then all we have to do in the last step, in the then step, is do some assertions. Now, What I'm going to recommend we do is we are going to validate, so over here, validate memes. That isn't a method. We're going to write that method. The method is going to be a private method that can be shared among the other steps because, like I say, Cucumber allows you to share things. It's designed to do that sort of thing, really. It's very good at it. We're going to validate memes, and we're going to say assertions. So this is from JUnit 5. Assert equals, and then we want to say expected memes dot size is equal to actual memes dot size, because we don't want to like have anything happen here if these two are different sizes. Like if we expect to have one meme and the actual memes is 0, then there's no point continuing. We'll just fail the test at that point. So once we've done that, I recommend we just go through every single one of them. If there's 1 of them, we'll go through 1. If there's 10 of them, we go through 10 of them. We're going to use an int stream to do this because for loops aren't for cool kids. Int streams are for cool kids. We're going to do equal actual memes dot size like that. Import that, and then we're going to do for each. We are actually using a for each. I just thought I'd use an extra cheeky int stream just to be cool. Then we're going to get the index, which is what we're getting from here. Pass a little lambda, and it's going to be we're going to create a new one, a new method called validate memes. It's going to take an expected value, which will be the expected memes dot get index. Same thing for the actual memes dot get index. So it's going to they're going to match. Once we've done that, let's create the next method, and it's going to be private void validate meme, and it's going to be final meme expecto patronum expected. Or I'll just call it expected. Oh well. Final meme, and we'll say actual like that. Then what I'm going to do is we have 4 things that we could assert against. We have the ID, we have the meme, we have the dankness, we have the timestamp. Because the timestamp is going to be only created when we invoke the constructor, I'm not going to actually bother testing the timestamp here. You could do that if you wanted to. This is just, I don't even know why I added the timestamp. I did. Oh well. But we can do that. I don't think we should do the ID either, because the ID won't be in the expected value, because obviously the expected values will just be empty. So we could arguably check that the actual ones don't have IDs, but then if we do the reverse of this, where we're actually posting data to the database, then it will all be backwards. So let's just assert. So we'll say assertions. Assert equals. We'll say expected get meme. Oh, get meme, and we'll say actual get meme, and we'll do the same thing again, but instead of doing that, we'll do get dankness, and we'll do get dankness. So we're just going to validate against those 2 things. So now, if we were to run this, I'm expecting that this will pass. Although, as always happens in my videos, it's probably not going to pass. Something's going to go terribly wrong. Is it even running? Is actually the question. I don't think it's even running. We'll try that again. Okay, it's running. It's running. It's going for it. It's going. Go on. Go on, my son. Okay, right, it's ran. It's ran perfectly fine. This is all good. I actually don't think we needed the test containers that I was on about earlier, because we haven't even started it. So, yeah, we don't need test containers. So, I'm going to take that out of the POM, because we don't need it. I might be wrong about that, but usually you can see the actual dependency. It is a useful thing to know about, but I've just realised we don't actually need it for this one. It doesn't really matter. It's going to make these run a little bit quicker for this video, even though I'm rambling all the time. It doesn't really matter. Okay, cool. So that's now passed. Now let's have a look at a little bit more before everyone falls asleep. So, what else do we want to do? Well, we want to write another bit of the feature. So in the feature, what we can do is we can write another scenario, right? So what do we know about the new scenario? Well, the new scenario, we want to. So what we've done here is we've got the means. We want to post data to the database now. So this is going to be a scenario, a user post a new meme. Okay, and it's going to have a given step, it's going to have a then step, and it's going to have a when step. Sorry, no, it's going to have an and step. So, like I say, I wanted to show you a different way of actually posting this data. So instead of using this table, you might not need to do that. You might, for example, only have one thing you wanted to pass in, like one string, and it's sort of pointless doing that. But you can do this with Cucumber. We can do when, whoops, make sure you get your capitalization and things right, because otherwise your feature files will fail, and you'll feel a fool. But anyway, when a user posts a new meme, and then we can pass it a meme, so this will be LeBron James, with a dankness, or with dankness 5, right? So what we've done here is, instead of defining that here, we're gonna take this string and we're gonna take this number, right? Then what we want to do is we can say then it is in the database and it has an ID, just so we can validate against the ID. More so I can show you that there's such a thing as an AND step. This is what we can do. You could have an AND step anywhere. You could have an AND step here. You could have an AND step here. You could have many other AND steps. You could have many if you really wanted to. And they could all be doing different things. That's sort of the point. So now that people can read this like English. So let's have a look at how we actually define this. So if we go to our meme steps file again, we're going to come back up here because I like to sort of group the whens and thens together. So we're going to say when, and it's going to be, we'll think about this, it's going to be, why am I thinking about this actually? We know what it's going to be. It's going to be when a user posts a new meme. I don't know why I said it like that. Final string meme and then final integer. So we're going to see how to get integers as well as how to get strings. Dankness. Okay, so how do we define this in the actual regex? Well, we start off with a cheeky little caret like normal. We'll say when a user posts a new, oh my god, he's typed so bad, a new meme, right? Then we want to pass in cheeky bit of regex. Whatever they pass here is going to be our string, wherever the thing is. Oh my god, there we go. Whatever they pass there. So if we now go back to our step file, our feature file, it still hasn't recognized this yet. Post a new meme. If I was to put this here for an example, the end, I hope it would just recognize it. Okay, it hasn't recognized it yet, but it will recognize it, believe me. So this thing here in the brackets are important because it tells Cucumber that this is one of our arguments. So we have that. We can then say with dankness, and then we want other brackets, but this time it's going to be a number, so 0 to 9, for example. And you could do regex. You could do the same regex. You could do this thing again here if you wanted to. But I just thought I'd show you another way of doing it because we're using a number here. So we can do that regex there. And if we now have a look back at our feature file, I'm hoping it's going to actually show you that it's done it. It seems to be doing it wrong. I have a feeling I've typed something slightly wrong here. So we'll look for when a user posts a new meme. Yes. I'm going to just trust that it's got it right because that looks pretty much exactly the same to me. I probably shouldn't do that. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. What we should then do for this step, because we can define the step now, we can say final meme expected is going to be equal to new meme. So we're using that other constructor. Again, this is just to show you that you can do other ways of actually getting your objects into the step file. Passing dankness. What we're then going to do is we're going to say expected memes. Whoops. Expected memes. Add. And it's just going to be expected. So now we've got that. And remember, we're in a new scenario now. So this is going to be empty because this before step will have ran. So it will run every time we have one of those new scenarios running. So we don't have to worry about having things that are already in the expected thing because we're having a new thing going off there. Then we want to post to the actual database. So we're going to say test rest template post for entity, and we're going to pass in the URL, which will be API memes new, and then we want to pass in what we're going to pass in to that, which will be expected, and it will be of type meme class. Okay, so now that's going to post stuff to our endpoint. That's going to then go post to the service. The service is going to post to the repository. The repository is going to save it in the database. So then what we need to do is we need to go and define the next step, which is then it is in the database. So coming back to our steps, we're going to do this. We're going to say caret, wherever the caret is, then it is in the database. Oh my god. One day I will learn to type. Yep. No. Yes. That's what I was looking for. Public void. It is in the database. Like that. And I'll also say then. Just for consistency. Okay, so then it is in the database. What we want to then do is we want to say actual memes, add all, and we're going to say meme repository find all. The reason I'm doing an add all here instead of just doing add is because firstly the find all method is easier. Secondly, we want to validate that everything is as we expect. And also we could use this step again. Let's say we have another step where we use, we post 10 items. Well, then we can use this same step again. We don't have to redefine it. So we're going to add that there. Then we're going to validate the memes. There we go. And we can also define our last step, which will be and it has an ID. Remember that case will affect things. So if you type something in uppercase when it should be lowercase, the regex will kick off and it won't work. So just be aware of that. I'm sure you were aware of that, but I thought I'd mention it just in case. And it has an ID. I don't know why that's like that. And then we can just do assertions not assertions cert not null actual memes get the first one, just because we could do some other stuff at the moment, but what's the point? We can just do it like this. Now we have all of our steps defined. If we look at our meme features, hopefully it's going to start recognizing things. It doesn't recognize this for some weird reason, so I think this has gone calamitously wrong somewhere, but I can't see where it's gone wrong. When a user posts a new meme with dankness, I can't see where it's gone wrong. We might have to just run it and see if it's gonna. So if we try when a user posts a new meme, try this. That looked like it changed something with dankness 5. There we go. So I had something I typed wrong there, but anyway, you can now see it's highlighted this blue and it's highlighted this blue, meaning it's recognized these things as arguments. So if we now run the full cucumber thing now, hopefully you should see that we have 2 passing files, but obviously now in my videos, one of them is going to fail, or maybe both of them are going to fail. Oh my god, they both passed! What the hell happened? That's never happened before in any video. It all worked out well. Look at that, it passed. The scenarios pass. Now, hopefully, I've been going on long enough and you have actually seen how to add Cucumber to a Java project, and you've seen how to do feature files, and you've seen how to do the steps and everything. We've gone through everything in quite laborious detail in some cases, but now you should be able to go forth and multiply with your Cucumber testing. Right. Thank you very much for watching. If you do have any questions or anything, put them in the comments, although YouTube doesn't tell me that I have comments half the time, so if I'm slow responding, I do apologise. Sorry. Arrivederci. Goodbye. Au revoir. Ta-ta. Bye-bye. Yeah.